Hey everyone. So for today's Peaceful Growth show and episode, I have Mandeep here. Hi, Mandeep.
Hello.
So Mandeep, welcome to my show, Peaceful Growth. And I had a chance to use one of your services a few weeks ago, and I talked to one of your team member, and I learned a little bit about you, your business, and it was very inspiring and also very unique startup story that I heard, and that actually motivated me to invite you for today's episode.
Well, thank you. I appreciate you using the experience, finding value in it, and wanting to know more about how we created it, how we create that value, how we build our team. So I'm excited to share with you.
Yeah. So shall we start with maybe your introduction and tell us a little bit about what you do and about your business?
Yeah, sure. So I was born here in the United States. I was born in Houston, and I spent a lot of my time here in Texas. Texas is a very unique state because we have these four big cities, and my entire family's here. So even when I was a kid, we would drive to Dallas, to Austin, to San Antonio to see these people or go on vacation. You know, Texas is so big. There's so many things to see that you can spend your early childhood just here, right? Every Christmas, every Thanksgiving or whatever. And when I was growing up in that environment, I was the son of two immigrants. So they grew up in Gujarat in India, and when they came over here, they didn't speak a single word of English. I mean, I remember my mom's the way she got her first job, her aunt wrote on a piece of paper, like, this is what I can do. I'm looking for a job. And she would go from restaurant to restaurant showing that piece of paper. And the paper just said her name, I can cut vegetables. I'm available from this time. And the first job she got was at a hamburger place, which is hilarious because she was Hindu. She's like, in this hamburger place for the first time. You've never really seen a hamburger before. It's hilarious to me. Like at one point she was told to put horseradish on something and she thought it was made out of horse because she just didn't know. She just was new to her. And that's kind of that experience where that's how they started in America. And so for them, entrepreneurship, this idea of trying to start your own thing was extremely high risk. And yet in our culture, it's very ingrained that business is something that you should try to do. And so they spent their lives attempting to start business after business. And unfortunately, they didn't find the level of success that they were looking for. Now, the whole time they had career jobs. So it was very interesting because they were juggling different responsibilities. Maybe that in part played into whether or not they were able to find that success. As we know, entrepreneurship, it takes 110%. So my parents, they were raising a family. They were trying to maintain their careers. They were also trying to build a business. And that experience made me very apprehensive towards entrepreneurship. I didn't want to do it. I thought that the risk was not worth the reward because in their case, it ended up causing them more pain than success. And so I grew up in that environment where I saw this problem of travel in Texas. I want to be an entrepreneur. But then I went to UT, and the resources there really opened my eyes to the potential of business. And I want to say everybody in my generation is extremely blessed. The barrier of entry is way lower, and the cost of failure is significantly lower than failing in entrepreneurship back in the day. There are a lot of companies now that don't look at entrepreneurship negatively. So even if you do want to exit the ecosystem, there is a lot of opportunity there. And so when I went to UT, I got a mechanical engineering degree. I did an internship at United Airlines and an internship at BP right on the trade floor on I-10 here in Houston. And it opened my eyes to the cost of regional travel and the problem that exists in Texas. People are traveling all the time. As you know, when you used our service, travel takes a lot of time out of your day. And when we stepped in with our solution, it really was built around solving that lost productivity problem. So I'm happy to go more into detail about my personal life, any aspect. But yeah, that's just a quick intro of my background.
Let's talk about your startup as well.
Sure.
So you tell us a lot more about when did you start, where you are at this moment. So let's go backward, so let's start with where you are at this moment with your startup, and then we'll go back to the backstory.
Sure. So ElecTrip right now is a 10 vehicle fleet of Tesla Model X's based all around Texas that takes people between major Texas cities door to door in private, professionally driven Tesla Model X's. The vehicles are equipped with Wi-Fi, laptop charging, they have a lap desk. So really when you're in the car, it's just like you are at your office. You don't lose any productivity that you normally would either driving yourself. You can't answer those urgent emails, the urgent please fix, immediate attention required emails. You can't get to them if you're driving. And if you're in a plane or a bus, you're limited to their schedule and you're not in a private space. So you can't take privileged conversations at leisure. ElecTrip stepped in with electric vehicles because the cost of operating electric vehicles allows us to price the service such that it makes sense for employees to take our company as long as they make more than $40 an hour. So if you're a lawyer, a consultant, an engineer, an entrepreneur, a real estate individual, all of those businesses have individuals that their time is very valuable. It's the difference between one more deal, one more contract, one more engineering project completed on time. And that's thousands and thousands of dollars of lost productivity when they take the alternative services. So that's where we are today. And I'll do one more thing. Our future goal, ElecTrip's future goal 3 years from now, is to have a 100 vehicle fleet of Teslas here in Texas, have the software platform to launch that fleet in the 7 or 8 other national markets that have the same regional travel problem, where people are traveling every single week for work between cities located less than 3.5 hours apart. And that market is a lot bigger than people think. Just in business regional travel, every year we spend $12.8 billion on that. In Texas alone, it's 1.5 billion. So it's a massive problem that needs a better solution. That America is very unique in that we have tremendously utilizable highway systems. We have very little public infrastructure. And so for something like ElecTrip, where we have modular vehicles, it's very valuable to the individual business traveler. Also, as we live further and further from the city center because of remote work, it's harder to get to a centralized bus stop or a centralized airport to get to your further destination. And I can go backward as well, like you asked. So we started in 2018. This was right around November, and we sold individual seats in the vehicle. So this was a really difficult model to scale up because we had a Model X SUV. It has 5 passenger seats, but it's a car. So now you're sitting in the car with strangers. It doesn't really make a lot of sense. The market that we were addressing, all they care about is price. They're price sensitive. When you sell individual seats, right? They're college kids, they're individual travelers getting back home for work, from for the vacation or whatnot. And that wasn't a market we could compete in. So in 2019, we looked at the market again, said, okay, clearly there's demand for travel, but where is it? And we started testing different markets, and we realized that there are core areas, core business travelers here in Texas that are willing to pay for the entire vehicle. So rent out all 4 seats. So for example, with our corporate partnerships, we charge between Houston and Austin, anywhere in Houston, anywhere in Austin, anytime, $195 per ride for the whole vehicle. And so we are able to partner with companies like Shell, who then are able to reduce their road risk, reduce their environmental, their emissions. So we're a zero emission travel service, and they can also increase their employee productivity. So it's a really great package for companies that are looking for a better work-life balance, a better solution to the environmental travel problems that they create. And that's where we stepped in. In 2019, though, we had a great year. It was our first year. We found that product market fit. We were growing extremely fast. We had a valuation of $3.2 million. And unfortunately, COVID hits literally 15 months after we found that product market fit. And when COVID hit, our revenue dropped 99% from March to April in 2020. And so typical knowledge, no matter what you read, A16Z, whatever, they'll tell you to pivot, right? They'll say, hey, when the market changes, try to pivot. There's no pivot that we could make. We tried deliveries to hospitals, but it doesn't make sense to be using a $100,000 luxury vehicle for that. There was just no market, and everybody had the same idea. So net travel was down, package delivery was up, but there was no utilization of our vehicles. So we shut the business down, and we relaunched in March of this year. So it was a big learning opportunity for me. I think that if Electrip had succeeded without COVID, and it's always hindsight is 2020, and people always projected optimistically. I think that had Electrip grown at the rate it was, I was not ready to be the CEO of that company. The culture at the company was not the best. Our employees weren't treated, I know this is overused, but like a family. But
Mm,
it's true. They were treated very expendably. And I wasn't proud of that looking back on it. But it was something that as a young entrepreneur with no real template of what a culture should look like,
yeah.
I just didn't know. So in a lot of ways, COVID was a blessing. It allowed me to reset the business, learn a lot more, raise a capital round, and relaunch a lot more sustainably. But yeah, so that was the journey of the company. Big upset right at the start.
I have a lot of questions, Mandeep, there, but before that, I also want to um, share with our audience, about your business and business model, in from my experience and my point of view. So the first thing that you mentioned, which is as an entrepreneur, the
Right.
experience, like, because when we are traveling, even I would say it doesn't matter whether it's a business travel or it's a travel for the pleasure, but um, in all that journey, I think all those different touch points, whether you are renting a car or Uber or your commute to airport or commute to your hotel, all those little touch point, with people and tools and technology, that actually adds up a lot in terms of whether you will have a great trip or you will have or you will have a successful and productive trip, right? But whatever your goal is. So I think and that was the one thing that I really like about the problem that you say, like, you're solving a massive problem, but I would say also that this is a very interesting problem because what you offer is a really nice vehicle and comfort and the privacy where you can continue to, either you want to relax, you can relax, you continue to be more productive, you can be productive, but kind of providing the safe, fun, and relaxing environment where you continue to be more productive in your journey. So I think that's something that is very appealing part of for me, from your business model, and those who um, are around taxes, and if you're looking for city to city private vehicle where you can actually commute with your business, your team, I think your service and offering will be a great fit for them.
You know, that is an interesting perspective, the aspect of the number of touch points being potential failure points, right? Because
Mhm.
you're right. You get into the taxi to get to your bus stop, then you have to board your bus, get on the bus, get off the bus, call another Uber. Every single one of those experiences could vary greatly in the quality. And each time you do that, you have to close your laptop, right?
Mm.
Or you have to get off the phone call with your family
Yeah.
to say hi, to get, situated. And I, and that's something we've directly seen. I've personally seen consultants get in our vehicle with their laptops open and they never close it, right? It's just open the whole time, auto connects to our Wi-Fi and it just worked the whole way. So yeah, I definitely will look into, I would love to, I'm going to run a study just on how many touch points you have in different travel services. And I would like to highlight that on the website. So that's a great example. I'm going to add that in.
Of course. And Mandeep, I wanted to ask about um, how it is different from Uber or renting a car. So tell us a little bit about, like, what are the benefits and about using ElecTrip
Yeah.
instead of Uber or renting a car.
I'll just give you an example of both. When you rent the vehicle and you drive from Houston into downtown Austin, now you have the problems of finding parking. You have the difficulties of then making sure that car is returned in pristine condition. You
Mm.
have the headache of fueling that vehicle up. There are lots of activities that are now added to your day that are not business essential or not pleasure specific, right? Like if you're going for vacation, you don't want to have to worry about where you park the car, whether or not the parking meter has run out. You would rather just enjoy your time in the capital, or making sure that you're going to meeting and meeting on time. If you take an Uber, you can call an Uber between cities, but often the drivers will reject it because Uber takes 40% of the cut and they know they're not getting a ride back into their home city. So they're not making enough money to complete the ride. So it's very difficult for you to even get the Uber that will take you between cities. But then on top of that, you don't have consistency and quality. So Uber is a very interesting model because when you look at driver ratings, the margin is actually 4.8 to 5 stars. So this idea that it goes from 1 star to 5 star is a false binary. Like it doesn't exist. You only can go from 4.8 to 5. So if you get somebody that's 4.9, they're actually right in the middle in terms of service quality. And I'm sure everybody has had a bad experience with Uber. Imagine getting a 4.9 star rated driver going from Houston to Austin, a 2.5 hour trip. That's not a great experience. And then you're in the middle of the ride. You can't get out. So
Yeah.
that's not an ideal start to your morning.
Yeah. No, I think that makes 100% sense. And yeah, I have been traveling a lot, and I have experienced that, especially when I have a good experience. If I get a good ride where I can work, I can think. That actually makes the whole journey enjoyable and also productive. So I can see the benefit for that.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, Mandeep, you said you started 3 years ago, right? 2018.
Correct. So it's been longer than that, but we've been operational for about 2.5 years now.
Okay. So tell us about your team size. Like how big is your team at this moment?
Yeah, so we have 5 full-time individuals that work on our actual operations, on our actual growth. Other than that, we have a lot of independent contractors, which are our drivers. When we hire drivers, we look for people that we can then ultimately promote into full-time roles. And so that's kind of what our objective is. But at the moment, we have mostly independent contractors as our drivers. ElecTrip's goal is to be very lean and to operate very efficiently so that we can service corporate clients at a rate that really makes sense to them, much closer to mileage reimbursement than any other option could possibly be. Another company in Europe has a very similar philosophy in the EV space. They're called Go Virtuo. They're a rental service, and they have completely contactless rentals for their vehicles. And that means that they're allowed to pass on those savings to their customers, as opposed to a company like Hertz or Enterprise that has physical locations as well as on-site staff. Those costs add up and increase costs to the consumer. So that's our objective at ElecTrip.
Great. So, Mandeep, a lot of our listeners and audience, they are entrepreneurs themselves. So I wanted to ask you about how did you get your first 10 customers? So it's always very like those first 10 customers, that is where the lot of creativity and innovation is there, especially for the new startup. So would you mind sharing some of your initial marketing strategies or to acquire your first 10 customers?
Yeah, so there were 2 things that we did to get our first 10, and I remember them very distinctly. The first was we used our status as UT students to get free articles published. And that was very helpful because we didn't actually know what people responded to because we were just launching. So we didn't know what key phrases to use. We didn't know what value they would actually derive. Would they actually care about the fact that the cars are Teslas, or would that make them more concerned about our service's ability to get them to their end destination? Would they like the productivity, or was it all about cost? So we did those free articles, and we tweaked each message for each article till we found the article that performed the best. And that was awesome. And the other thing we did, this is way left field, and it was successful in that it got us our few first core clients. So number 1, we booked the cheapest ticket out of IH, and we would go to the airport gate for Houston to Austin and hand out flyers to the passengers that had like Lenovo ThinkPads because we knew that they would probably be business travelers. And so
Okay.
that helped us get, yeah, that helped us get two of our biggest current customers, and they're still with us today. And they signed up their companies, which then had a bunch of ongoing employees join as well because they love the service, right? And we give United miles, so employees love that for booking ElecTrips. And so those were the two, and it was crazy. I still remember it. I had an Amex Platinum card, so I would actually I would book a later flight. And back then, they didn't have the same restrictions they do now. So you could go in and out as many times as you wanted to the lounge. So I would go first thing in the morning, eat breakfast, then go to like the gate and start selling, then go and eat lunch and then start selling, then go back for dinner and get the last few flights. And so yeah, that's how we did it.
Great. Yeah, I love it. Yeah, thanks for sharing that, Mandeep. So my next question is, knowing what you know right now, is there anything that you would have done differently when you were first starting out?
Yeah, I kind of mentioned it before. I would treat my team a lot better. I mean, I had a great group of initial three students that wanted to work with me on Electra. All three of them were phenomenal in different ways. One of them was a great operator. One of them was incredible at technology. The other one was a wonderful salesperson. Truly one of the best people that I've met for pitching. She would do so good just by walking into places and introducing herself and selling. So
Hmm.
when I first launched the company, I had 100% of the equity. I had invested all of my own personal money. My mom and dad helped me with the first car co-signing
Hmm.
because no one was giving me a loan. And back then we were less capital intensive because we would borrow Teslas from current owners. And we don't do that anymore because it does increase our cost. And the way I fundraised this time was actually by selling the depreciation on the cars. But what effectively happened was by not raising capital early, by being too greedy with my equity, I couldn't create an environment where people felt safe to work there. They felt some level of security in the business because everything was month to month to month. And that was incredibly stressful for me, but way more stressful for people that are working beside me, right? And so that was my biggest regret. And if I could go back, I would do everything I could to keep those people. When COVID hit, we disbanded the company, and they're all doing great, have great jobs now. But it would have been nice to be able to continue to build a business with a team. I currently am I am the only equity holder, non-investor equity holder at my company. And that means that a lot of times, as you know, as an entrepreneur, as the people listening, on a daily basis, like 10 things will go wrong, two things will go okay, one thing might go your way, right? Like that's
Yeah.
like the typical day. And it's so
Hmm.
much nicer when the 10 things that went wrong can be split, right? Because it's no one, when you share a success, it
Hmm.
doesn't dilute the feeling of success, right? When you're all celebrating at a dinner table together, it's not, you don't feel better being alone there, right? Like imagine if you celebrated with your team versus you going to a restaurant by yourself. Everybody on this podcast would agree that it's better with your team. Right?
Yeah.
The feeling of you're alone, they're all on you. And it can be extremely demotivating, right? Because you can start to one, question your ability, and two, you can question the validity of the business. And so there were times when I first relaunched in 2023 where I would start my Monday off, be very motivated, very fired up. My investment meetings are on Friday. Then I'd go and have the weekend to decompress and be very fired up to start on Monday and maybe do some work on Sunday. And that Monday wouldn't go well. And so then for the rest of the week, the tone was set, and there was no one
Hmm.
that I could talk to really decompress. And my best friend, he helped me a lot. But now he's going off to Harvard Business School, so it's kind of it's one of those things where I really wish I still had my core team.
Yeah. Um, it's interesting that how you mentioned about that you would have treated your people differently. And I've been entrepreneur for almost like a 15 years now. And I one big realization slash learning for me in 2023 was this, that if you're in a service business, especially when your people, like as an entrepreneur, your people are the one who are offering an experience to your customer, then you should be a people first culture. If you are in a product business where your product is the first experience that your customer is um, seeing, then you should be the product first company. You should focus on making sure that your product is your priority. And if you are in a consumer facing company, not consumer but like commodities, where there are a lot of competitors and the product
Right.
is product and people doesn't matter, but price matters. So that's where they say like you should be the price first. Like Amazon, I would say is price first a company, like focusing on the price. But I mean, they also have prioritized the experience and other stuff, but more importantly, it's the price. They want they would keep price as their first priority always. So that's what something I learned, and especially your business and my business. It's very much that experience. It's not the product, it's not the price, but it is the people who actually give these experiences to customers.
Mm. I think we've made that exact mistake between the service versus product-based company. We
Mm.
thought we were a product-based company early on because that's what everybody tells you in school when you're learning about startups. But it is 100% a service-based company, right? So we de-emphasized the quality of the product. And when I say that, I don't mean we kind of, made it less convenient, but we
Mm.
started investing more in our drivers and our people, and
Mm.
that increased our reviews tremendously. So it didn't matter if the cars had like those noise canceling headphones, right?
Yeah.
But if the drivers were given a $5 allocation for amenities, if they stopped at a gas station, they could buy something for themselves, buy something for the client. That increased our quality significantly. So yeah, that is really well put because we made that mistake. So yeah.
Yeah. And also, when I used your one of your car and your driver, Matt, right? Was
Correct.
Matt? Yeah. So was such a nice person, and I was so tired from my long journey and all that, but just talking to him was a really great experience. So I can attest to that yeah, yeah, like that experience, that how your team member made me feel. I also have a Tesla, so it's not I mean, of course, like, being in a nice
Right.
car is a great experience, but that's not the first time I'm being in the car. But your team member is the first time that I'm talking to, so that's what I think it made my experience definitely 10x better, just talking to and seeing how nice and how kind he was.
That makes sense. The Tesla is not necessarily impressive to you. It wouldn't have been a memorable experience if it was just the Tesla. It
Hmm.
made it memorable that you were able to talk to somebody like Matt who cares about the person that he's talking to as much
Yeah.
as just anybody. So
Yeah. All right. So Mandeep, I have a next question for you, which is, as you know, this is a peaceful growth podcast. So I wanted to ask you, what's your version or definition of peaceful growth?
so there are studies that have been done that show that people move faster towards a goal when they're running towards something and away from something. Meaning it is very much more motivating when you are trying to lose weight at the gym because you're afraid of health concerns, but you're also working towards the summer body that you want.
Hmm.
And I think with entrepreneurship, to me, peaceful growth means that you actually don't have anything outside of the business at the end of that. So you can run away from, I think it's honestly helpful to run away from feelings of insecurity, feelings of not providing value to the world. Like those are key things that motivate a lot of entrepreneurs. But I think when you run towards an externality, meaning if I did all of this for a red Ferrari, this mansion, that because on a daily basis, I am so far from those goals. I'm tremendously far from those goals. And every time I hit an upset, my mind interprets that as me being even further from that goal. So at the end of the day, if I'm working towards these externalities and I have to go through a valley before I can reach a peak, that is not peaceful to me. That means at the end of the day, I'm constantly upset at myself for not accomplishing what I wanted, but also for moving further away from that externality. And so, yeah, so I think if you remove those externalities at the end and really just look at the business and that's what you want, I think that will give a lot more peace to your mindset as you continue to grow. So that's my definition: is just remove the externalities, be motivated by the things that motivate you, and work towards finding joy in the process. And that's like very. I'm still struggling with that. I don't know the solution to that yet, but I'm trying. So
Yeah. I like how you articulate, the about how we think about the goal. Like, either we are moving towards something or trying to run, move away from something, and they both have a different intrinsic value and motivation. No, I like your answer. It's very thoughtful and thought provoking. Yeah, I'm gonna meditate a little bit more on that. All right. So Mandeep, next question I have for you is, um, what are your three biggest learnings as an entrepreneur? I know it's still a new journey for you, but it has also been 3 years. So, what are those three learnings that you have as an entrepreneur?
yeah, so I mean, it's been a little bit longer than just 3 years. It's been 3 years with ElecTrip, and so I've learned quite a bit with some other businesses that we tried to launch during COVID, and just so the first thing is I think this would definitely apply to any students listening. As an entrepreneur, every mistake you make is you pay for it, and when you work for somebody else, every mistake you make, they pay for it at the end of the day. Yeah, you might get fired if the mistake is big enough, but usually there's a budget built in for you to make those mistakes and learn. So the first thing I would say, the first big lesson that I've learned for myself is there are certain things that you're just going to have to learn as an entrepreneur. You can't learn them at a job, and maybe you can't even learn them working under an entrepreneur at a startup, because I think you develop a different perspective when you have the responsibility of that financial cost of making the mistake. But I would definitely say, if at all possible, work under a good boss, work with a good team for the first 3 years. Because those mistakes early on, like 80% of them, are easily avoidable and pointlessly expensive. So simple things like being able to verify payroll so that your bookkeeping is on track, right? Like making sure that you know what a good hire looks like, so you're not just listening to people verbally promise you the world and then under deliver when it actually gets to the point of meeting those expectations, things like that. The second thing I think I just mentioned it, but this is kind of the opposite of it. Don't run away from the wrong thing. I think so again, we talked about how you can run towards a goal and run away from something. A lot of people will get into entrepreneurship because they want a level of autonomy that they don't necessarily have at their corporate job. I think that you end up having a significant level less autonomy when you're an entrepreneur, in that, yeah, you can make every decision for yourself, but you don't have the freedom that you do at work. Like, you go home and in most jobs you're free, like you're off, no one really messes with you. Even in the most demanding careers, there is protected time now. Some consultants, some lawyers, you're not allowed to be reached at a certain time. In entrepreneurship, you're always on, and so that can very much wear you out very quickly. So if you're running away from something, run away from something that is intrinsic to both environments. And the best way to figure out what that is maybe to listen to this podcast or to talk to entrepreneurs and tell them why you're starting the job. And ideally, it's the friend that you absolutely trust with the truth. Like, don't lie to them. Tell them exactly what you feel. And if they're an entrepreneur and they're successful, they can tell you, hey, that motivation will run out very quickly. Like, you'll be out of that motivation in 2 months. And that's very important. And then I think the third thing is, I've learned so much in these past few years that it's hard to boil down this third one. So really, I have a couple options, and I just want to narrow it down to one. But I think the support structure outside of entrepreneurship is disproportionately valuable. If you can go into entrepreneurship with the right friends, the right family, I think that's phenomenal. For younger people, there's a lot of influencers on Instagram, on TikTok, that talk about how you should be a lone wolf and how you should do everything yourself. And,
Mhm.
you should say no to a bunch of things, say no to your friends, say no to your family. This is your time to grind. And, it's always like, oh, you have to hustle.
Mhm.
That's stupid. That's truly stupid because survivorship bias is tremendously debilitating because once you're successful, you start attributing your reasons for success to arbitrary stuff, right? You say, oh, it's because I woke up at 4 a.m. every day. But Bill Gates sleeps like 9 hours a day, right?
Mhm.
So it's not like you need to do that to succeed. Everybody's going to have a different reason for success. But the one commonality that I found is they have a support structure. Even if it's just one good friend, one good family member, they have that. So I think that's probably the most important thing that I'd want to impart. And especially if you're younger, don't listen to the entrepreneurs that tell you like, oh, this is a grind. You have to do it yourself. Think of yourself in 3 years. You're going to have that Lamborghini. Like it's stupid. It's not going to keep you motivated. You're going to run out of.
Mhm.
So
Yeah. No, that's very insightful, Mandeep. And there are a lot of different things that you mentioned. That itself can be a separate podcast. Because they are very in depth and
right,
insightful. Um, I do like what you mentioned about that when it comes to success, that you need to understand what's your version of success. Because what you mentioned about that, like some people like to think that like, oh, I need to hustle or go solo or I had to work 16, 18 hours or all those different advices that you will see on Instagram and all the social media, people sharing. But at the end of the day, yeah, you need to really understand, especially this aspect of that. Like people who are giving those advice, they're not wrong. I'm not saying that they're
right,
right or wrong. What happens is they tell you the advice that they are giving you is based on their current experience. I would say
right,
ask them people like 5 years ago when they started business, what did they do? You know, because you should not be learning from where they are today. You should be learning from where they started, right? And that's where, because you are in the starting of the journey, you're not at where they are today. You like them where they are today, but if you want to learn something from them, go back and see where they started. So what they said, what they do 5 years ago or 10 years ago or whenever they started their first business. So I'm not saying, yeah, so that's something that's kind of like also you need to see that what are those different actions that they took, yeah, like the things that they followed. I think that's something very important
right.
to
No,
keep in
yeah,
mind.
right. It's very motivating to see people at the end, but it's more helpful to see people a few steps ahead of you. And actually, Mr. Beast, the biggest YouTuber at the moment,
Mhm.
he says that. He says that a lot. He says if you want to grow a YouTube channel, don't look at what I'm doing. Look at what somebody with, if you have 0 subscribers, look at someone with 1,000 subscribers. Then when you
Mm.
get there, look at the 10,000 guy, then the 100,000, then the million. And I think that's very, very true. It's very accurate. Yeah. Why do you think people at the very top forget the journey? Or do you think that it's not like an intentional thing? I'm just curious about your perspective. I'm sure you've talked to a lot of entrepreneurs at different points of that journey, and I'm
Mhm.
curious why people forget the journey, if that's what's happening.
Yeah. No, I think that's a good question. And what I have in my experience, what I have observed is that yeah, people actually have forgot both, journey and their goal, because they are immediately busy on the next goal. So what I understand is that, like as an entrepreneur, whenever we achieve one success, we immediately think about like, okay, what is next?
Mm,
And then we start putting all the energy into the next one. So that we basically forgot both, like we forgot to celebrate the success
right.
that we achieved today properly. And we also forgot to document the journey, which helped us to get here. So what happens is like when, let's say you ask successful entrepreneurs about the advice, they would a lot of time what happens like they don't remember or document the journey, but they are busy learning, achieving the next milestone. So a lot of time the advice that they will share it is based on what they have learned in order to get to where they want to go next.
Right. No, that makes sense. So they're constantly, we invalidate the effort that we've put in the, and because we need to now adapt to the next goal.
Mm-hmm.
So it's very difficult to retain the perspective that you had before because that perspective doesn't serve you. So then at the end, you only have the perspective that's remained. Is that kind of,
Yeah.
that's very insightful. Yeah. Because yeah, it is. It's true that you have to adapt and evolve all the time. So it makes sense.
Yeah, like for example, at this moment, like um, for let's say in your business, I'm sure you would be learning a lot about how to grow your business from where you are to where you want to be. So you will be listening to podcasts, reading books, more on how to go, where to go next, right? So that is where, like, and somebody asks you, let's say, and that's why I always go back to, like, where are you today, and let's go back, because that's
Right.
where a lot of the journey and the learnings are, which can also help you, get where you want to get, but also can help others and inspire others.
Right. Makes sense. Makes
So,
sense.
Mandeep, next question I have is about, do you read any books or listen to any podcast or something?
Yeah, my my friend has a podcast. It's called Tricky Talks. He's from Mumbai, and so
Okay.
it's a very interesting perspective because the guys on it, it's just his buddies, and we've accumulated a really weird group of friends. So like we have a guy from Milan on it, a guy from Alabama. I'm from Houston, and
Okay.
I haven't been on it yet, but it's just very interesting. It's
Hmm.
unfortunate. Yeah, I had this really good core group of friends in Houston, and like three of them got deported because their visa just expired, right? You come as a student and you get that visa, and then
Yeah.
it's unfortunate because we lost them. But we still get to get, like, it's almost like the way we used to get together to eat biryani and play Catan
Mm-hmm.
on Fridays, and now we just kind of get together to do that podcast. But as
Mm.
far as who else I listen to, I really like two guys on YouTube. One is Alex Hormozy. He is an entrepreneur based out of Austin, I
I
think.
love
Actually,
Alex too. Yeah, I've been listening
yeah,
to him a lot.
yeah, it's just the main value that he's given me is just acknowledgement of, he always says this is what hard feels like. That's been so helpful for me.
Mm.
And then Chris Williamson, also a podcaster out of Austin. He's just interviewed such a breadth of knowledge, and he always has this way of it's so diverse, like the type of stuff he talks about. So one day he has somebody that talks about how the modern day film industry is failing and why it's failing culturally, and the other day he'll have like a urologist on. And it's just like so random, but the value it's very nice. Like I think he gets people that are independent thinkers, so you're always like getting a new perspective, at least maybe not necessarily new information, but a new perspective, which I think is cool.
Makes sense. Um, how's your routine look like, Mandeep, now?
Yeah. So I this summer was really crazy. I had a place. It was like an 8 foot by 9 foot room, and I just had a mattress topper and cloth rack, and that was it. That was like the entire furniture. And I lived
Wow.
in Austin like that, just going back and forth, launching our Austin office. Now our Austin office is built up. We have a great team, as you've experienced, and so now I'm back in Houston. Houston is where I was from, so I was staying at, I had this condo that I renovated, and I decided, why am I doing that? My parents are here. This is precious time with my family, right? So now I live at home, and I carpool with my mom to work. I drop her off, come to my co-working space, and work basically until about 3:30 when it's time to pick her up. Pick her up from work, go home. You make dinner together, take food to my grandfather, and usually I try to put in another hour and a half's worth of work, like a block of time in the evening to work. So the day is like wake up at 5:30, go to work, get home, cook dinner, deliver food to Dada, right, grandfather. By 7, it's pretty late in the day. Hour and a half of that additional work block. And then I have about 45 minutes to play video games or watch anime or something. So that's usually what I do.
Do you have any productivity hack that has helped you a lot, saving time and energy?
Dopamine early in the morning will destroy the rest of your day. So just like if you think about, so this is for engineers, right? So you have a graph, right? So if you spike your dopamine early, it has to fall. The higher the spike, the sharper it's going to fall. I have a whiteboard, but I won't mess with it. And it's basically, you go up and you go down fast, right? So the rate at which you go up is the rate at which you go down. So if you burst that dopamine hit over the course of the day, then the drop is more gradual too, which means that you'll have a total amount of area under the graph that's greater than the guys that spike it. So if you wake up first thing in the morning, check social media, drink coffee, listen to music, those are all very dopaminergic activities, and you will drain your dopamine. And then the first thing that goes wrong in the day, you're screwed. You're just going to give up. And so what I've done is I have this app on my phone called Daylio. It's Daylio. It's a journal. It's a journaling app, and you can track your mood and you can track habits. And it's been so helpful. So instead of opening Instagram, I'll open Daylio and just write why I wanted to open Instagram. And it was like, oh, I'm insecure about this person. Oh, this person hasn't texted me back. I'm bored. I don't want to do what I need to do today. And it's just crazy because and I also track my mood when I open and close Instagram. Every time I've opened Instagram and then closed it, my mood is either the same or worse. Like, it's never improved off of something I've seen off Instagram. And the only way I was able to improve my mood was to go through my own memories. So instead of scrolling the feed, I just scrolled my own memories. And that use case is the one use case where my mood increases. So, but it's still dopaminergic. And, so I just try to delay that to the end of the day. Like, if I want to watch movies and play video games, that's cool. I'll do it. But at the end of the day, right? If I call my friends, it's really nice to call them at the end of the day. So that's pretty much it.
Yeah. No, I like that. And in fact, especially how you mentioned about the dopamine, how it does, like, if you are triggering them high, then it will go down at some point, and when it will go down, it will also make you feel tired, make you feel like less productive, make you feel, all those feelings that you don't want to feel. One thing that I will add into that is what I do is every day, like when I start my day in the morning, all those different little activities, work, and all that, it will take some part of your energy. And during around the noon time, that's where I noticed that I will start losing the energy, losing the focus, attention, and all that. So what I started is I will take a power nap for 25 minutes around 12 to 2 p.m. And that helped me a lot, because once I will get out of the nap, I feel like my body and mind is fully recharged, and I'll have like this new, it's like charging my brain battery, so just like we charge our phone, even if you're not using your phone, it still consumes some level of energy, and the same if for our brain too. That brain is almost if you look at the size, it's just, I think, 2% or less than 10% of the total mass volume, but it consumes 30% of the energy of the total body.
That's a lot. That's insane. That's an insane ratio.
Yeah, and also another interesting thing is that we always think that the brain gets tired because we do some critical work or critical thinking. But if you don't do anything, like even if you're like in totally known like thinking state, even in that state, your brain is also constantly consuming 60 to 70% of energy.
Of what it would consume at peak, if you were thinking?
Yeah, so like if you look at the peak performance, like when the peak, it probably overall, like throughout the day, it's only 30% of the energy that goes into the peak. Like even if you're not doing anything, brain is still draining the energy, taking the energy. Because even if you might have noticed that even if you're just sitting idle, your brain is constantly wandering in thoughts.
Right. It's hard to turn it off. Like it's hard.
Yeah. So you never turn it off. Exactly. So it's even if you're not doing anything, like working or anything, you're still on a wandering state, and that wandering state itself, overall, accumulatively throughout the day, it consumes 60 to 70% of the energy.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. That's interesting. I also wanted to ask you, do you meditate in the morning? I've heard a lot of people say that helps, but I was curious if you had experience with that.
Yeah. So I meditate different time of the day. So yeah, I have so meditation has also very interesting topic because there is a lot that people um, still doesn't know about the meditation. So the meditation has, like, usually we think of meditation as a relaxing activity, like something that
Right.
helps you relax or make you feel happy or calm, right? But meditation has multiple different goals. So one goal of the meditation is to also make you feel more focused, alert, energetic, right? So I do two different meditations. So one in the morning that I do, it's called breath work. So it's kind of a branch of a meditation, but you can still call it meditation. So breath work is where it's like a coffee. So 10-20 minutes of breath work in the morning will give you the alertness, focus, and, like, higher energy throughout the
So
day. And then I perform.
more active, like than meditation. Breath work is more like specific. Like you're saying, you're counting your breaths or something. I need
Uh,
to look at this.
yeah, yeah. So breath work is actually not about counting the breath, but it is more about how you breathe. So the process of breathing, like inhaling and exhaling. So what you do is you change the pattern of inhaling and exhaling. Like usually when we inhale and exhale, that's our normal survival breath, right? But in a breath work, you change the pattern of breath, and just changing the pattern of breath in a certain way triggers different kind of energy and emotion in your body.
Hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, it makes sense. It's something so automatic, but
Mhm.
I'm sure that if you change that, your body's going to say what's going on. So I have to look more into that. I haven't started any meditation or breath work, but I've been told multiple times that it's something that helps a lot. The afternoon nap thing is interesting as well, because that's another thing that I've heard people say is for that 20 minutes of time that you spend, 25, 20 minutes of time, it pays dividends in the long run. Like it's just you're so much faster for the rest of the day. So I have to try that. Do you drink coffee in the morning as well, or no?
I do. Yeah. I love coffee. And yeah, like, I still don't see that coffee as a substitute, I mean, substitute in the sense, like, um, if you look at the nap, for example, nap is a coffee without any side effect, because you get the same 3-4 hours of alertness and focus that you get with the coffee. But the coffee will, like you said, coffee will give you that high energy, but
Right.
then you will also have hit the low, once the coffee start diluting in your body. So but yeah, like the coffee now, coffee honestly is not for, I don't drink that for getting the energy or alertness, because I already get that from my meditation and my nap. But coffee is just something that I just love the taste of coffee. So I do both decaf sometimes, or sometimes like in the normal caffeinated coffee.
That's cool. Cool.
Yeah. Um, yeah. Great. So thanks for sharing that, Mandeep. And the next question I have is, are you using any AI tools in your work and life at this
Yeah,
moment?
we use ChatGPT a lot. It just helps us shorten messages. It's very effective at parsing through text. Now, it does make I've not yet discovered how to make it a little bit more humanistic. I've been
Mhm.
training it with just our regular messages, but that's pretty much all we do for now. I know that there are a lot of AI tools around electric vehicle routing, but to date, I haven't found any value in them. Only
Okay.
because with Teslas, you haven't, as you know, you're a Tesla owner. One, they have enough range. Two, the charging infrastructure is such that it doesn't really matter. You don't really need it all that much. And honestly, I know that there's a lot of confusion around just a very sophisticated machine learning algorithm versus AI. I don't really know the difference. I need to learn more about it. But we looked into how we could reduce our charging cost by basically planning trips so that they terminate and charge at different times. but they got in the way of the customer experience, so we just dropped it. Yeah, we don't use anything significant right now, unfortunately. If you have any suggestions that we can go down to explore, I'm all ears.
Yeah, we have been using a ChatGPT a lot in my business, and yeah, there are like a lot of different ways that we use ChatGPT, and work, but also I've been enjoying a lot in my personal life as well, because whenever I have to do any certain kind of research, I'll tell you a quick use case that I did just a few days ago, where I have this breakfast where I believe it's healthy. So, but I just wanted to make sure that I have, it's not just like I'm making an assumption about it, So I was kind of like questioning on that, like how healthy my breakfast is. So what I did is I went to ChatGPT and put in all those ingredients, like, hey, I ate 4 strawberries and 1 cup of blueberries and 3 spoons of yogurt and this particular cereal brand and all those stuff. Uh, and then I asked ChatGPT, like, what do you think about, based on my age and my goal? Do you think that's a healthy breakfast? So then I got a lot of insightful information about, that, like what I'm eating, how much I should eat, and all those ingredients in my breakfast, how they are helping me achieving my daily goal, like the calories and some of the stuff. So that was kind of like very interesting, because if I had to do that myself, it would probably will take a long time and going to multiple different websites and spreadsheets and all that. But then I was able to do that in like within a few minutes.
That's really interesting. It sounds like ChatGPT. I mean, I know people have said this before, but when you said multiple websites, the first thing I thought about was the number of tabs that you would have to open to get to that same, right? And it's like, how many times would you have to agree to their cookie policies and like forever? Like it takes a long time. So now you just cut all that out. That's really interesting. Do you think websites will start to stop ChatGPT from being able to scrape them? I don't know how they would stop it, but like let's say you put out some proprietary information and now ChatGPT just keeps people from going to your website because they just give you that information in ChatGPT. Do you think that'll be a problem eventually or ever?
The way I see it, I think the information, if you look at the information, any information, online or offline, when whoever are the publisher and creator of those information or content, right? At this moment, they are looking at, like, at the end, the people are the consumer of those information. I think with AI, how I see is now they are opening this another tab for AI as well. So they will still create the content. I think, they are just creating this new tab. So what will happen, for example, Reddit, they have started doing that right now. Reddit, Twitter, all they kind of like what they do is like they want to create the content for people like you and me. But now what they are doing is they are also creating the content or curating that content, organizing that content in a way so that they can give that information or content to AI tools as well. And they will charge money, they will make money. I think I feel like it's more like an opportunity for them, because it's the same content, now they are selling it to all these AI models.
Okay, I see. Okay, makes sense. There's still, the end user is still getting value. So there's still some value that can be extracted. It's just that who pays who for what, or like where the transaction happens is different. There's an added player to the transaction.
Yeah. And I feel like it's also like a map, so if you look at the Google map and all other GPS tools, if you see that the underlying technology and the creation is the same, and then they license it to Uber and all those different companies, to use their technology. But as a consumer, you also have access to that, and now all those enterprises, they use the information, package it in a different way and present it to a different way. And sometimes they create a business model on top of that. And I think, in my opinion, that's what ChatGPT is doing. It's like slowly all these big companies who create the content, they will start charging money, charging through ChatGPT or the models or the AI tools, and they will make money out of that. And then ChatGPT and AI model will help people like you and me to simplify our life by presenting those information in a more meaningful way.
Makes sense. That's okay. That makes sense.
Yeah,
Thank you.
that's how I say it. Mandeep, one thing I wanted to tell you is that I'm very, very inspired and impressed with your business model as a young entrepreneur, the problem that you're trying to solve, and also the journey of entrepreneur is not easy, and you already experienced that as well, that there is a lot of work needs to be there. There are a lot of people that we need to make them happy, and at the same time, it's a very challenging adventure. And I appreciate and admire people like you, who are committed, passionate, into going into the journey and have the vision to dream big. So I really appreciate that. And anyone who is here in Austin or in Texas, who are looking for a ride service where they really want to go from city to city in Texas and want to be more productive, plus also want to have a great experience during that commute and ride, check out ElecTrip, and we will put on all the details of Mandeep and his business on the show note. But yeah, I wanted to just give a shout out to any listener who is in Texas or visiting Texas. Give it a try.
Yeah, thank you for that. Thank you for the words. It's sometimes difficult to see the end value of a day's hard work without the outcomes, right? That you typically expect. And there's a lot of Greek philosophers that talk about how the purpose of life is not to be happy; it's to be useful. And I really like that. And but it's also nice to be happy. And so I appreciate you saying that and giving me those compliments. We're here to help people make business happen in Texas. Like, my goal is to have all four of the cities as theoretically close to each other as possible, because now the cost of going between them is zero. So, or 195, I guess. But yeah, thank you so much for the time. And, this is awesome. And, I've learned a lot from you during this podcast. I think there's a lot of stuff that we continue to learn. And so, I'm looking forward to continuing to talk to you. So thank you.
Me too, Mandeep. And thanks for your time today, Mandeep, and sharing all your experience and learning from your startup. And yeah, I wish you a lot of success and happiness in your journey.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Mandeep.